All right, everybody, welcome. Again, Emil Ahangazadeh here, your course facilitator and developer for the Google Apps for Education Certified Educator Level 1 Exam Prep Workshop. This is the digital literacies component of the pre-lesson or the pre-institute work that you should be doing. I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks that you can use to access this content and use during our workshop together. So let's get started with that. First things first. You're going to be using the Chrome browser throughout the course, and this is for multiple reasons, but the primary one is that the exam is taken in the Chrome browser. You can't take it in Explorer, you can't take it in Firefox, you have to use the Chrome browser. And of course, during the course content, during the course workshop, we're going to take some time and learn all about the features of the Chrome browser. One of which, for example, is to understand the basics of tab management. So let me give you an example of what tab management looks like. All right, so when I say tab management, I'm talking about these tabs up top. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this concept, the idea is that you can have multiple pages running in the browser at the same time. So for example, let's say I want to visit CNN on one page, and rather than changing the address for this particular browser, because I want to now see my Twitter feed, I can just click that plus button. Did you see that? See that little this additional browser here? Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. If we were to zoom in here, you'd notice that there is this little additional tab section over there. And the idea here is that if you just click on that, it'll open up a whole new tab. And so now I can go in and take a look at the Twitter timeline. You see, and by switching back over to this tab, I simply click on it. I'm looking at CNN.com. I'm clicking over here. I'm taking a look at Twitter.com. And if I wanted to add another one, I would simply click on the new tab icon, and maybe in this case, I'd go to YouTube.com. And so now I have 3 tabs open. So that's the first thing, is to manage your tabs well, as opposed to having multiple versions of Chrome open or your browser open. Just use the tabs functionality. And you can have several tabs, as you can see. And if you want to turn off one of the tabs, you just hover over the tabs X button and close it all out. So I don't want this, I just want Twitter and CNN. So that's the first thing, is to know how to use the tabs feature. Now, if you don't want to use the browser, your mouse, you can simply push the Control and the T letter down at the same time, and it'll open up a new tab for you, as you can see. And in the Apple world, it'll be the Command T. So Command T or Control T opens up new tabs. And again, if you want to close them out, you just X them out. The next thing you need to know is about how to open links in new tabs. And this is actually a cool little trick that I'm often surprised that folks don't know about, but let's go over it. So here's how this works. So here I am on Twitter, and I can see that there's a sports page and a news link and a music link and so forth. Now I can come on over here and click on sports, and what will happen is the instance, this tab, when I click on it, will be replaced. So it jumped from feature to sports. So I lost the feature page, but I have the sports page. But let's say I want the featured page open and the sports page open at the same time. Well, what I can do then is to right-click on any link and select Open Link in New Tab. And notice what will happen when I click on that. See, now I'll have that new link, that resource, opened up in a whole nother tab. So here's the sports page, here's that Twitter page. You can do this from emails, you can do this from websites, and you can do this, of course, through the Google apps, through the Google ecosystem. So again, what do? You right-click or command-click on Macintosh systems, and you select Open Link in a new tab. And you notice beneath it, if you don't want it to open up in a new tab, you can open it in a brand new window as well by simply clicking on that. And here I have a second instance of my Chrome browser open. Here I've got 2 tabs of Twitter, and here I've got another instance of the browser open in a whole new window with the entertainment content in it. Another feature for you to be aware of is the ability for you to pin your tabs. Now, the idea here is that you can take your regular tabs and use the pinning function to make sure that they stay to the front of the tabs that you've got ordered up. So here, let me show you what that looks like. So as you can see, I've got my CNN page open. I've got 2 instances of Twitter open. I'm going to open up my Amazon.com web page as well. And at this point, as you can see, every time that I open up a new page, I'll push Control T to open up a new tab. And in this case, I'll go to, I don't know, where should I go to? How about I'll go to Facebook. And every time I open up a new tab, the tab gets put up in the front of the row, to the right of the row. Now, it could be that I have a very important page that I don't want to accidentally close, or I always want to refer back to. So, for example, I can go to our course content page, which is bit.ly/GAFE101.sausd. Now that I've got it open, I can, of course, grab that tab and I can reorder it. See, I'm pulling it over and putting it wherever I'd like to. Or I can simply right-click on the tab and then select the Pin Tab selection. And once I do that, see what it did? It just jumps over. It makes the tab a little bit smaller, so it's going to be more difficult for you to accidentally close. In fact, you can't close it out. You have to open it in order for you to be able to actually close it out by right-clicking and unpinning that tab. So pinning is a simple task, and a tool, I should say, or function, I should say, that allows you to take your most important sites, the sites that you don't want to have to deal with finding again because you want them to be ordered up front because you're going to refer to them quite often. You just right-click on an open tab and you just click on Pin Tab, and as you can see, it moves it over to the very front. I can do that with multiple pages, so with Facebook as well. See, now I have 2 pinned tabs, and then I can take the CNN page and I can pin that as well. So these become resources that I'm planning on jumping to more often than not, and maybe I'm really not going to be using Twitter very often. And so what I basically do is I have my system laid up the way I want, with my most important pages open and pinned to my browser. Now the next cool thing that you can do with most browsers nowadays, but Chrome is the one that started things off, is tab peeling and tab combining. And let me show you what that looks like. So one of the things that you can do with tabs is to peel them off of the original instance of your browser. So let me show you what that means basically. So here I have 3 tabs open, and the idea is that I want to take the Facebook page and I want it to be in its own instance. So what you do is you simply left click on the tab itself and you literally drag it or peel it off the browser, and as you can see, it automatically creates its own instance. Right, so here I have now its own instance of Facebook. Notice how I took it off. I peeled the tab off and put it into its own page here. I can do the same thing with any other tab. I can grab the CNN tab and I can peel it off, and now I have an instance of CNN open. I've got my tabs in the back with the Google Apps page and Amazon, and I also, of course, have my Facebook pages in a different instance. So that's the peeling. So combining is the exact opposite. I can grab the tab, and notice not the page, but the tab itself. I grab it, and I can see that behind it I've got an instance of Chrome open, so I'm simply going to drag it up to the very top, and you see what it does? It just snaps it right back into the original page. So that's called tab combining. So tab peeling is when you grab and pull it off the original instance and create a secondary instance, and combining is when you grab the tab and you pull it back into the browser so that you combine multiple pages. All right, so the next little piece of digital literacy is called split screening. Now you can do this actually most easily on Windows devices, but you can also do it on Chromebooks, and you can also do it on Macintosh devices. I'm going to demonstrate on a Windows device, but you can do this in all of the other systems, albeit there are a couple other steps. So split screening looks something like this. All right, so let's say, for example, we're in the workshop and we're now moving along, and we come to this section where I ask you to go to the resources page, and you're going to come over here and you can see that I ask you to maybe take a look at the Gmail basics page, right? Now remember, if you click on it, generally most systems will replace the window that you're currently in. By default, I've set it up in Google Sites, so whenever you click a link, it'll simply open it into another tab. But in most websites, that's not the default action. It'll replace it, right? So now you've got this content over here, and you've got the original content on the website here, and you don't want to keep on flipping back and forth. You want to be able to see both pieces of information on the same screen, and that's what split screening does. So in the Windows system, it works like this. You're simply going to peel the tab off of the browser. So I'm going to grab this resource tab and I'll pull it off, and you can see it's in a different instance of the browser now. So now that I let it goes full screen. You see, so there's the background, and here's the new instance of the tab that I just pulled off. So now if I want to split screen it, I can certainly grab it and pull it over, and I can come over to the edge of the browser, and I can grab it and resize it. And if the system is using HTML5 or what's called responsive design, then the information will squeeze nice and tight, as you can see. Then I would grab this other one, and then I would simply pull it over to the side here, and then I can maybe bring it over to the right-hand side, and then I'd have to come on over and grab the edge and maybe bring it over to the center there. It's pretty cumbersome process. Well, Windows, starting about 2 operating systems ago, added this feature called snapping, and this is how snapping works. You simply grab the resource that you've got, the browser that you've got, and you hurl it over to the left-hand side, and look at what it does. Just automatically splits it to the left and opens up all of your other potential windows that you've got and says, hey, would you like to see this window in the second half, or would you like to see this window? In this case, I'll go ahead and select on the original, on the Gmail page, and when I click on it, it snaps right into place in perfect alignment. I don't have to reshape anything. I can grab it and pull it over, but now notice what it's doing. It's combining the two automatically. So if I grab it and pull it all the way to the right, it's going to resize both windows. You see, really cool little feature. So again, how did I do that? I simply have my original browser. My instance is open. I want to be able to see both this page and this page simultaneously, let's say. So I'm simply going to grab that tab, pull it off the original browser, and snap it to the left. Well, in this case, I let go of the browser and it went into full screen. So I grab it again and snap it to the left. And then all of the other windows that are available for me pop open. I select this one, and now it's nice and clean and tight. Right? Now here's the thing. If you don't want to use the hurling methodology, you can also use the methodology of keyboard shortcuts. Right? So for example, I can come over here, I can grab that resource, pull it off, let it go, it goes into full screen, grab it again. Now I push the Windows button on the keyboard, and then either the left or the right button. So I'll push the Windows button and the right button. See, and it snaps just to the right. And I select that, and it fills in the left-hand side. I can also say, no, I want to push the Windows and the up button here. And when I push the up button, it'll take it into 3 sections, right? So I can fill the bottom with this section over here. You see, so now I have 3 views, all perfectly aligned to the size of the screen that I've got. So you push the Windows and the left or right button to snap to the left or right, or you push the Windows up or down button to snap to the top or bottom. Isn't that nifty? Yeah, nifty. Now, like I said, you can do it on Macintosh systems and Chromebooks. In Macintosh, however, you'll need the latest operating system, which is called El Capitan. It's the newest of the OSs, so if you don't have the newest OS, that feature hasn't been added yet for you. But if you've upgraded your operating system in your Macintosh notebooks, you should be able to do exactly the same thing. The way it works is slightly different. What you do is instead of grabbing the tab and pulling it off, what you do is you actually go in and you, as you can probably see here, let me zoom in a little bit. You're going to come on over and you're going to click the green button, and you're going to hold down your click, and it'll give you options, and it'll snap the 2 windows to wherever it is that you'd like it to go to. And you can see that clearly in this instance. So when you hold the button, actually, excuse me, let me resize that and show you a little bit more clearly. If you go to it and you click the button and you hang on to the button, it'll pull it up for you, and it'll say, okay, where would you like to snap it to? And eventually it'll snap it just to the right, or it'll snap it to the left. And it's a similar thing with the Chromebook world. But with Chromebooks, you actually, they don't call it split screen, they call it docking your windows. And so the way you handle that, as you can see, the instructions are up on the screen if you're using your Chromebook. You just dock the window to the left or the right. And you just do that by clicking and holding the maximize button on the Chromebook page itself, and then dragging it over to the left or dragging it over to the right. You can also use a keyboard shortcut of Alt and left bracket to dock to the left, or Alt and right bracket to dock to the right. So you should definitely practice those skills if you haven't before. Another good trick for you to know about is zooming in and zooming out of your web pages. Now, the easiest way to do it on any page is for you to simply use the Control key or the Command key, and then either push the plus or the minus button, plus or the minus button. So for example, if I want to zoom into the system here, I would push Control and then push the plus button. And as you can see, it zooms it in for me, right? Then I push the minus button and zooms it right back out for me again, you see. And often what ends up happening is folks like zoom in too far and they want to zoom back out and they just push Control minus, 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 minus. But you can actually just push the Control 0 or Command 0 in the Chromebook page, and it'll automatically reset back to 100%. So if you were at 500% and you want to go back to just a normal 100%, you just push Control 0 and it'll snap back to 100%. Which brings us to our final little part of this digital literacy tutorial before the workshop, and that has to do with understanding the difference between signing into your Google account and then signing into your Chrome account. And if I had a nickel for every time people ask me about this or are confused by it, I'd have about $4, I bet. So here's the best way to explain this is to just show it to you. So first things first, Google and Chrome are two separate things. Chrome is the name of the Google browser, but you have an account with Google. So when we say sign in to Google Apps for Education or sign into Google for short, we're talking about you signing into your account. But there's a difference between that and being signed in to the Google Chrome browser itself. And let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here we are in the Chrome browser, and we're on the Google search page, right? And this is where most people come to do general searches for things that they're looking for. First, we'll deal with the idea of signing into your Google account or your Google Apps account or your GAFE account, whatever you want to refer to it. You'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, there's a blue sign-in button, right? So you can click on the blue sign-in button, and once you do so, it's going to ask you to sign in with your Google Apps for Education or your personal Google account or your professional Google account or whatever you've got, you see. So for example, what I'll do is I will show you what generally it looks like when you first approach the Google system. It's going to look something like this, right? When you go to sign in, it's going to say, what's the username, which is generally your email address. For us here, Santa Ana Unified, it's your sausdlearns.net email address. So first name dot last name at sausdlearns.net. And so when you go ahead and click the next button, it's going to ask you to sign in with your password. In this case, I'm going to go out and give it my password. I'm going to click sign in, and it's going to say, you got the wrong password, Bubba. I'm going to say, oh, no, I don't. And I'm going to sign back. Oh, dear Lord. Oh, third time's a charm. Let's see if it'll sign me in. Hey, it signed in. Now, notice what happened. So when I signed in, the blue sign in button went away. And now I've got my lovely mug up here that tells me I am now signed in to my Google account, you see. And if I click on my icon in the upper right-hand corner, I can come on over here and I can see the profile with which I'm logged in. I can see the little apps tray over here, which if I click on it, it'll give me all of my Google apps that I have access to and I'm signed into. So for example, let's say I want to go check my Gmail. I would click on the Gmail icon and it takes me right on over to my sausdlearns.net Gmail account. If I want to go to another app, you can go back up to the apps tray, click on it, find another application, maybe YouTube, maybe photos, maybe something else that I'd like to, you see. So that's great, right? Nice and easy. I know I'm logged in. But where people get challenged is that there's a difference between being logged into your Google account and being logged into the browser itself. And so here's the little section with the browser. You see up here in the upper right-hand corner, if you've never logged into Google, this is either going to say personal or it's going to say nothing. So what you do is you come on over here and you click on whatever's there, and it'll show you what account is logged into the actual browser itself. You see, so I can come on over here and I can click on switch person. And when I do so, it'll say, okay, you've got several accounts that you've already registered. Which account would you log into the actual Chrome browser with? By default, at work, I'm always in my SAUSD browser account. But notice I can switch over to my personal browser account, or I can go to my personal browser account as well. So in this case, let me switch gears and go to my personal browser account. And when I click on that, it actually opens up a whole different instance, a disconnected instance of the browser from my SAUSD browser. So here, let me snap these to the left and snap them to the right so you can see what I'm talking about. So in this case, on the left-hand side, I've got my Gmail for my SAUSD account. But on the right-hand side, because I'm logged in with my personal account, I've got my Gmail account for my personal Gmail stuff. You see? So let's see if I can combine the two. If I grab this tab, remember earlier from peeling and combining, if I grab the tab and I try to combine it with this other page, it won't allow me to do so because it's saying, hey, no, you can't. This isn't the same account. It's not the same system. I can't connect the two tools with one another. So the idea here is that you can have multiple instances of browsers, but you can also be signed into multiple versions of the browser itself, keeping your accounts absolutely clear from one another. Now, interestingly enough, Google actually allows you to do that within a single instance of a browser, right? So for example, I'm going to maximize the SAUSD page. And I can come over here and I can hover and click on my SAUSD account icon, and I can add a secondary account here, right? I can come on in and say, hey, add my personal account. But it becomes so messy because you start flipping back and forth, and sometimes you start sending an email or you go to a Drive account accidentally from your personal account, and you end up getting very, very confused. And so the difference here is that when you're signed into the browsers, you have it's like having two different human beings standing in front of the device. As opposed to combining your accounts, you're telling Google, no, I want you to deal totally fresh with my personal account and my professional account, or my first professional account and my second professional account, as you can see. Now, what this also allows you to do, folks, is it allows you to go incognito. So incognito basically means that you can start browsing the web with a totally disconnecting your account back to the Google servers. It doesn't mean that everything is private. As a matter of fact, it's not private at all. All right, I won't make that comment. But so I can come over here to my SAUSD browser sign in. When I click on it, you can see that it says switch person. So I'm going to switch person. And you can come on down here and click as browse as guest. Now look at what happens. When I click on browse as guest, a whole new instance of Chrome pops up. This time I'm browsing as a guest. And notice that my icons didn't come with me from my personal account. My icons didn't come with me from my professional account. These are my bookmarks. It's just a brand new field. If I was to go to mail.google.com, which is Gmail, that's the subdomain for Gmail, I clicked on it, it's not going to connect me to either my professional account or my personal account because it's a totally disconnected instance, which is a wonderful tool when you're trying to demonstrate things for your students or demonstrate things for your colleagues on how to use the Google system, so that you can say, so see, this is what the person would do. Remember the tricks that I taught you in this on Google? Now let's demo it. But instead of demoing it with an account that you're already signed in with, you can do so with a totally incognito account. Now, in the, well, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. And so those are a couple of tips and tricks. Go ahead and review this video if you'd like to. Make sure you try out some of these things. And if you like what you see, pass it on. Let some of your colleagues know about it so that maybe you can teach them a thing or two and they can take advantage of things. All right, so that's the end of this tutorial. Looking forward to seeing you at the workshop. Have a great week. So long, everyone.